everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another vlog, a vlog with a little bit of a difference, as the title will have said, because it's not going to include any current stroke present day riding, and that is due to this. Oh yes, charming, show your face now. Thankfully you are looking sound. So Banksy managed to get this off on Friday, and unfortunately the farrier cannot make it until our pre-arranged appointment on Monday, so he is just enjoying a weekend in the field. Yes, I did put some treaties in there. Yes, I did. Didn't you have one or two, didn't you? Yeah. Ah, gentle. So I will admit that I was going to just not vlog, but then Meggy Moo Moo, aka Alphic Event Ponies, put up a vlog reflecting on her 2022 season, and she officially influenced me to do the same. Now, I do generally do a season overview, but I don't normally do it until the new year. But bringing it forward, and whilst we are still on a high from our result at Bicton at the end of the season, I thought it would be quite good. Motorbike's about to go past, super speedy, glad I'm not riding. Oh goodness, good boys, good boys. Yeah, I thought it would be a nice idea to do it now, ahead of the madness that is going to be Vlogmas. Now, the title will have told you, and if you followed along during the duration of 2022, you will well know that it was not our best year on paper. Yes, we started good at Bicton, and yes, we finished good at Bicton, but in between there were a number of E's and also a lot higher scores than we are generally used to having against our names on the scoreboard, I guess. We actually entered a lot more events than we would normally do over previous years. I think if you look back at our record, we generally do 5, 6 Bs. You know, logistically for us, it's quite hard to get to numerous venues due to the location and us being down in Cornwall and everywhere being such a long journey to drive to. However, this year, with him being in his prime, with us having trained and worked so hard over the winter and enjoyed the tuition so much with Cameron, I wanted to ensure that we gave it our all, because you never know when you can no longer do that. You never know when's going to be the last ride, you never know when's going to be the last jump, etc. And I just wanted to fully embrace him whilst, one, my confidence was at its all-time high for most of the season, and also whilst he was feeling the fittest and best that he has ever been. Well, I was hoping he might stay with me to talk about at least event 1, but he has gone. He's gone. I've eaten those treats, Mum. Don't really want your company today. I'm quite enjoying my lazy Sunday in the field. So I will crack on straight away, because as I said, there's quite a few events to talk about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 events against our name in the 2022 season. Previous to that, the year before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can't really count 2020 because that was primarily lots was cancelled because of COVID. If you look back to 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and actually 2019 probably will have been our best season to date. 18 was when I had a massive confidence crisis and Em rode him a bit for me. Yeah, only 3 completions that year. And then 17 was also a very good year for us, but again, our average of 5 to 6 events. We did 5 in 17. 16 was our first year being full members at BE, and 15 was our first ever event. So only 1 that year, 3 in 16, 5 in 17, 4 in 18, but only 3 completions, 6 in 19, 3 in 20, 5 in 21. Oh no, I don't think there were 5. 4 in 21. And as I said, 9 in 2022, but only 1, 2, 5 out of the 9 were completed. So let's crack on. It's going to take a little while to talk about. Let's start with the first one, which was our best result during 2022, and that was Bicton BE90 back in April, right at the start of the season. So Bicton is always one of my favourite events, as it's relatively close to home. I say relatively close, it's still over a 100-mile drive and it takes about 2.5 hours. But it is one of the most local BE venues to us. As you know, logistically, being in Cornwall, everywhere's a long way to get to. So their dressage arenas are always lovely and flat,
very well set up. And as you can see from this little snippet, he was going nicely. He was very relaxed, which I was quite surprised about for the first test of the season. The year previously, our first test of the season was horrific, and we ended up with a 40-something because he was so excited. So I was a little bit anxious that the same might have happened this year. But thankfully, the calming cookies and the training paid off, and we managed to stay composed. He was very attentive and listened to me. And I think we ended on a 31.5 dressage. Show jumping, I felt really nervous. There was quite a big, you can't see it, but there was quite a crowd. And I remember feeling quite anxious of going into that arena, but I just didn't want to let him down. But I tried to make sure I rode him nice and forwards. I didn't do too many weights or holding back. And it paid off. Lots of people were looking at that jump actually, but he jumped a beautiful clear. He basically took charge, and big well done, good boy. Clear round, on to cross country. As you can see, he was a keen bean to get out the start box. Skipped over fence 1 nicely, then over fence 2. And I haven't, oh, here was funny, he thought he was doing the 100 combination, look. He went to go right over that house, and then I was like, no, straight on over the 90, please. Some of the combinations were shared with the 100, as you can see there, by the pink and orange numbers on the fences. But as you can see here, and this is what I love about Equareel videos, is he's just so game on. He's like, yep, come on mum. And as long as I ride forward, oh, a little bit sticky here, but again, this shows it's all about mindset. I was concerned that this might not ride well, purely because it was new. That ditch was new, it's never been on that course before. And clearly I just, changed how I rode, and he went, but he still went, bless his heart. And here we are, going over the final fence, quick check of the watch. Pleased to complete within the time and second.
So I am sure it goes without saying I was elated at having done so well at our very first event of the season. It was nice to see that our hard work, effort and determination to keep up the winter training had paid off, and that we had been competent and competitive. We had a 31.5 dressage and a double clear, and I enjoyed every single phase of the day. I remember making a reel afterwards showing me smiling finishing dressage, showing me grinning finishing show jumping, and showing me looking absolutely elated finishing cross country. But unfortunately the elation didn't last very long, because on my way home from that event I did have the phone call from my mum. Bless her heart, she had actually obviously wanted to phone me earlier in the day, but didn't want it to affect my headspace when I was competing. But she was phoning me to let me know that sadly my granddad had gone into intensive care and didn't sadly make it. So yeah, I don't want to go too much into that because that isn't what this video is about, but my granddad absolutely loved watching the vlogs. He lived over in California, so needless to say, I didn't see him that often. We had been over there to visit him a few years back now, and we visited him when we got married, because we actually got married in America. But he was like my biggest cheerleader. He always WhatsApped. He was a very clever technical granddad. He would always send pictures and videos on WhatsApp, and he would always check in with the progress of not only me but Em and Meg. He always wanted to see how we were getting on. He loved watching and supporting and cheering us on with our horses. So as I said, the elation of doing well that day didn't last very long, because I was extremely upset by that, which goes without saying, I guess. And for some reason, a few days later, in order to try and turn my frown upside down and get me back into embracing the fact that the winter training had paid off, I decided to spontaneously enter Port Elliott, another BE. It was the following weekend, and my gut unfortunately was umming and ahhing, but with a bit of encouragement from friends, and with it being one of the most closest venues to us that BE host, and the easiest to get to, I would say, the shortest space of time, the shortest distance. Sorry, the cats are scruffing over there. I thought it would be silly not to. Now, I should always trust my gut, because part of my gut was telling me not to, even though it was close and an easy one to get to. My head wasn't really in the right frame of mind to be going back out competing. However, it's a lesson learned, because I didn't trust my gut. I had the most awful day. I didn't enjoy any of the phases, not dressage, not show jumping, not cross country. And yeah, lesson well and truly learned, that when your head isn't in it, just trust your gut and don't go, because yeah, it ended up being one of our worst ever days eventing, and such a massive contrast to the week before, when we'd had a 31.5 double clear and come second, to getting eliminated not only once but twice in the same day. Well, I say that, I was told I was eliminated and called to the stewards to say I was eliminated, or could have been eliminated, in the show jumping, but because I then got eliminated with accumulated refusals in the cross country, they did actually put my 8 penalties on my record for show jumping, and I wasn't eliminated in the show jumping, but I, hand on heart, did not know that you could get eliminated for dismounting before you've left the arena. So I did make a reel, and I did share that on Instagram, because I think it's important for others to know and learn from that, because I was primarily getting off my horse, Banksy Boo, because we all know how sensitive he is. He lost a shoe before fence 4. I just did not then carry on riding at all to my capability, because I was worrying about his tootsie. He's Mr. Sensitive, out hacking. If we ever lose a shoe, I get off and lead him straight home. I was unsure whether to complete the round, so as soon as I had completed the round, I jumped off to check his foot, and apparently that is not allowed, which I really did not know, so I hope it's a learning curve for others too. It's down to the discretion of the judge, so it's not instant elimination, but the judges can decide whether or not it was a risk. It's to do with health and safety, to do with the other horse entering the arena, apparently. So yeah, take note, guys, do not jump off even though you're across the finish line, because you can be eliminated. Like I said, it wasn't to be our day anyway, and that is another reason why I don't actually enter two events, 2 weekends in a row very often at all either, because it does take up a lot of time, effort and money out of our lives. We all lead busy lives anyway, and yeah, doing it 2 weekends in a row is not my idea of fun. I will always trust my gut in future and not necessarily enter something again just because it is local. But I didn't realise then that was going to be our last event for quite a long time, due to England giving us this tropical weather that it gave us for the majority of the summer and making the ground turn into concrete. And again, Banksy's precious tootsies means Tina will not ever run him on hard ground. I learnt that lesson last July, and that is one thing where I 100% will always trust my gut with. So if we look at my record now, it will show a couple of withdrawals, and I think needed to be in front of the computer for this. Yeah, it shows a couple of withdrawals. Launceston, June 25th, withdrew. That means no refund. Dauncey, July the 20th. Don't know why that doesn't show withdrew. What does it show? It doesn't show anything. It just says naught against my name. That was the one that they did end up abandoning because the temperatures were like 30 degrees. However, because they only abandoned it like 2 or 3 days before the event was due to run, you only get a 15% entry fee back. I then had Bicton, July the 30th, where I was going to do the 100. And yeah, Tina pretty much basically lost herself another entry fee there by messing up big time. But I'm sure the majority of you will have seen that vlog. I will insert a tiny bit of footage just because this is an event season debrief. However, there won't be any cross-country footage because I did choose not to run. They were going to allow me to run HC, but the ground was pretty firm still in July, and yeah, I decided just to do the dressage and the show jumping and not to take him out on the cross-country course. So there's 3 events there that we did not, so no, we had completion at Bicton, then we had elimination at Port Elliott, then we had
withdrawal at Launceston. Then we have withdrawal at Dauncey, or the event abandoned. There should be an A by that, shouldn't there? And then we have withdrawal eliminated at Bicton. So that's 4 events in a row that are either withdrawals or elimination. And yeah, my record has never looked like that. I'm not remotely worried about my record because Banksy will never be going anywhere. It's not as if he's going to be sold. I know that is why people like to keep cleaner records for horses. But it just does make me giggle that we're like 5 years into our eventing season, 5 or 6, and this is my worst one to date, but also my best one to date. Go figure. Oh, Bicton BE 100. The one where I was eliminated for having a big fat brain fart, we will call it. Because we had gone up the day before and Banksy had been stabled all day because we went to support Kerry Ann, who was doing the 90 on the Saturday, I schooled him in the evening, on the Saturday evening, after walking the course, on the flat down by the dressage warm-ups. And I had seen other people down there an hour or so earlier riding in the dressage warm-ups and a few people in the arenas. So I didn't think anything of it. I just did exactly the same. Little did I know that that is against the rules as well. Yeah, you're not allowed to ride in the dressage arena. It could give you an unfair advantage. So yeah, sadly, again, it is down to judges' discretion, but the judges, stroke stewards, decided to eliminate me, but to let me ride HC. The only thing was they didn't tell me until about half an hour before I was due to go down the centre line, which then made my head be in quite a flap, especially as I had also had some bad news the night before from Rob regarding our poorly stepfather-in-law. And if I had known I was going to be eliminated, I would have actually gone home the night before rather than stayed. However, I didn't, so I did carry on and do the dressage and the show jumping thanks to Em for the encouragement, and I'm glad I did, looking back on it now, but I didn't go cross country, and again, I'm glad I didn't, because as you can see from this dressage footage, Bicton always do try their best. They give the best arenas, the best going possible, but we hadn't had rain for months, and you can see even these dressage arenas aren't looking very green. The cross-country course looked a lot less green even, and yeah, he's in his prime at the minute. I'm doing everything I can to enjoy and embrace that, and I will do everything I can to protect and make sure he goes on enjoying his job for as long as possible. So there was no need for us to run cross-country that day. My head wasn't in it, and his legs didn't need to be put through it, so we did the dressage, which was a bit of a blur, to be honest. We did the show jumping, again was a blur, but he was awesome. And then we came home with another big fatty on our records. Now I feel grateful watching this footage back, because you can see each time I push for a long stride, we take the back rail. So towards the end of this course, I remember thinking, just let him chip in, it's what he likes to do. Picks up neatly there. I'm pretty sure he does it again here. He likes to get close, so I've got to stop interfering with him so much and do what Cameron always encourages me to do and allow him to get deep.
Also, my next event was the best event of the year for me. It holds the most fun times, the best memories, yet our worst result, aside from the eliminations and withdrawals, because I did fluff up, but we just had so much fun. It was what eventing is for me. When me and Em started back in 15-16, it was always just a fun weekend away with our ponies. We would go the night before, we'd sometimes stay 2 nights, go the night before, depending on how far it was. We'd stay over, we'd have a few drinks, we'd go and do late night pony checks together and have snuggles in the stables. Not snuggles between me and Em, snuggles with the ponies. And yeah, it's just what made me enjoy and love eventing. Banksy loves stairway shows, he loves being centre of attention. I mean, he's always my number one, but when we're away, he doesn't have to share me with the dogs or the cats or Dinks or Rob. We just, yeah, really enjoy it. He thrives off the atmosphere. I just enjoy the pony and girly and fun times. And yeah, because it was me and Em and Meg and Pete and Hobbs and Jam and Dee Dee. It was just epic. The atmosphere, the event was incredible. Yes, I did fluff up one of my lines cross country, but I was actually elated that I managed to survive the show jumping after having a near miss there. My dressage tests had gone relatively well, considering the atmosphere and the flappy flags, etc. And the cross country course was absolutely epic. Like, probably one of the best tracks I've ever ridden. It was nice and challenging, I will admit. When we walked it, it was quite daunting. However, even with the silly mistake, it was definitely a big lesson that I've learnt from, because I must not listen to the tannoys or take in what mistakes other people are having and let that affect my riding. So it was a really big learning curve for me. I definitely thoroughly enjoyed it, even though it was such a long way to go. The atmosphere was insane. Meggie qualified up there on Jam, which again made the atmosphere even more great. Everybody was happy, elated and smiley, and all the ponies came home safe and sound, and I would definitely love to go back. I don't think I'd be brave enough to do their 100, because their 90 was challenging enough. So it does mean I need to get my bum in gear and get a 90 qualification to get back there next year. I'm going to have to do quite a lot at the beginning of next year, but we won't think about that yet. We'll think about that at the end of this video. But here's some of my thoughts a few months later from Frickley.
On to Frickley Park. So this was, as I said, the furthest I've ever travelled for an event. And Banksy was wired. He was very excited to be there. The warm-up for the dressage did not go to plan, but it did mean we got a nice exuberant centre line as we went down that very long centre line. Because this is a national qualifier event, it means that you do your test in a 20x60 arena as opposed to 20x40. So normally that centre line feels like it goes on forever, but Banks went nice and speedy down it. But he did settle quickly, considering the warm-up. He wanted to spook here at excess markers by the side of the arena, but thankfully we pushed on through and I channeled his impulsion forwards. Now I won't include too much of the test, because as I say, the whole test is already in the Frickley vlog, which I will link in the description below. But we did a lovely free walk. I think actually this was one of the tests from this year that I came out of feeling the most positive, feeling like, I don't know if it was just because of the contrast from the warm-up. Like, this upward canter was lovely, especially on a downhill. Yeah, whether it's just the contrast from the warm-up to the actual test was so much different. But I just felt like we really came together within the test, and it went a whole lot better than it could have, basically. That's my attempt at trying to be positive about dressage. Our give and retakes need work. Thankfully, the horse got in the way of that one there, so you don't get to see it. But again, this went nice downward transition. I think commentated by Emily. And then a nice turn back onto the centre line. He was listening to me, and that's all I can really ask for. And a lovely halt, which I then stupidly adjusted. Perfect. Until I adjusted it. Anyways, we move on to the show jumping.
Got to be pleased with that.
Now, we were very kindly sent our full round by a lovely follower, and she'd filmed it on a professional looking camera. Very, very good footage. And I don't think I included this in the vlog because I think I couldn't find the download. So we have the whole course in here. It was going so nicely. He was really listening again, being really attentive. And then after this fence here, we came up towards the double. I probably did cut the corner slightly and then pushed for a long one. Oh, how we recovered from that, I don't know. I then didn't take a chance. I did not want to fall off. I regained my stirrup. Banks was like, "Why are you stopping, Mum? We haven't finished yet." And then carried on. And thankfully in this round, I think he flew here. Woo! Thankfully just got away with just the 4 faults. It quite easily could have been a lot worse. So I was very grateful to be heading to cross country that day because we easily could have hit the dust there. So as I said, onto the cross country, and I have never come out of a start box and done a handbrake turn to the right before. But it didn't faze Banks, he was game on, as you can see, all the way up until here. He absolutely bossed that jump, it had quite a drop on landing. And then coming down this hill, I was interfering like mad. I was questioning my own head, how to ride this combination. I was massively overthinking it. I'd listened to the tannoys, I'd heard loads of problems at it. And in turn, I just cut the corner and didn't ride. Like, completely. Took my leg off until he had already stopped and then went, "Oh, jump it please," from a standstill, which clearly he's not going to do. Then in even more of a flap, represented and rode awfully again. But bless his heart, went, "Oh, come on, mother. I've got this." And then going along this bit, I was thinking, do I retire? Do I carry on? Do I retire? No, you've come all this way, Tina. There's quite a few challenges ahead. Get your act together and ride properly like you know you can. And ride for you and him and not take outside influence into the equation. Because we all know when I actually ride positively, confidently and forwards, Banksy says, "Yeah, come on mum, I'm game." But when I don't, he goes, "Why are you holding me back, woman?" So I'm super grateful to all the lovely followers who captured all this epic footage. As I said, it was by far one of my most favourite cross-country courses I've ever ridden, even with the little blip. So I think that says quite a lot about Frickley Park, and I'm actually super glad that I made the effort to go all the way there and would definitely love to return again one day. On to Chillington Hall, another national qualifier, B90. Down the centre line, same test that we did at Frickley. Another long journey to get up there. We went with Kerry Ann, Em's sister-in-law, so it was, again, another fun stay away. We did have quite a bit to drink the night before, so I was feeling a little bit delicate. But he was as good as gold. It's like he knew this test now. He knew when to do what. And I'm not going to lie, I think I was a little bit disappointed with the mark after this one, because I thought when I rode it that it was better than Frickley's. I thought it felt better. Watching it back now, I can see a few mistakes and where I could have lost half a mark or so. But all in all, again, a really pleasurable test. I enjoyed riding it. He felt really rideable, like he was listening. The ground felt good. His canter, as you can see, looked nice and uphill. I mean, we are going uphill there, which helps. Onto the show jumping. Again, a lovely venue. I love jumping on grass. I always find he feels more active and forwards on grass and keen. There's always a bit more room, I always think. I did go a bit speedy through there.
I left the sound
Cameron
effects
told
in
me
here
to ride
because I
him
did
like
go a
an
bit
overgrown
too fast
pony,
through
so
there.
that's what I did, even into these tanks.
Steady.
Oh, reminiscing on
round here.
Cameron telling me to ride him like an overgrown pony. And unfortunately tapped the last rail again, went for a long one. So I've really got to learn from this that Banksy likes to chip in. It's really good actually doing this reflection sort of style video, because it's just the same thing being reiterated again to myself. So I'm definitely learning from 2022. The cross country, I don't actually think there's much for me to pick up and learn from here other than to just trust him. I remember I was quite vocal around this course. I had to slow down quite a bit here because I was up on the time. But I was quite vocal around this course because of the silly blip at Frickley. So I was just conscious of ensuring that I didn't have a silly mistake, and I think the vocalness was mainly for my benefit. So we ended Chillington feeling nice and confident and competent. It was really nice that the ground was back to feeling good again, because as I said earlier in the video, I won't ever run Banks on firm ground again. He doesn't like it, I don't like it, he doesn't need to do it, and I'm just super cautious of his tootsies and his nails, his feet and his joints. So yeah, it was nice to know, and it makes me again learn and go ahead into next year, that I will be doing events early in the season and late in the season, but probably not a lot in the summer. Yeah, and it's nice again, like I say, doing videos like this, just sort of to reinstall it back into your own brain, the things that you need to remember and learn from and just take into consideration going forward into 2023's eventing season. Obviously there's 2 more events left of 2022 that I'm now going to lead on to. The next being Bovington, which probably makes me smile the most, probably even slightly more than the final Bicton, because I needed to push myself to do that. Back in 19 we were quite competent at 100, and for some reason after the gap of not doing much competing 2020 during COVID, things like that, worrying unnecessarily about Banks getting that little bit older, even though I like to say he's in his prime, I know that he's not going to go on forever. Yeah, I wanted to be able to embrace him feeling the best he's ever felt, and I want to be able to get back to competing at 100, but equally I want to still enjoy it and not be going to an event absolutely bricking it and it being no fun at all. So going to Bovington, I know Bovington often can be a bit of a kinder course. I've been round it competently at 90 a couple of times. It was where we had the dreaded seagull incident, but that was in dressage, not jumping. And I was going to go with Naomi, which is nice. I always like to go with somebody. I don't like doing it on my own. I don't like doing much on my own, and I'm quite open and happy to admit that. So me, Naomi, Banksy, Rory and my mummy trundled off up to Bovington. That's about a 4 and a bit hour journey. And we did it in the day. We left super early, up and back in the day, which I always like wonder and think, is it okay for us to expect our horses to perform to the best of their ability after such a long journey? But to be fair to Banks, he always copes remarkably well, and I don't feel that it affects his performance in any way at all. The only thing that affected his performance on that day was my nerves show jumping, which thankfully is something that I can easily work on over the winter. Unfortunately I don't have the best dressage footage of this, which is a shame because it was our best test of the year. We got a 27.5, but I didn't actually know that until after I'd finished cross country. I didn't look at the scores at all. I don't know, it wasn't really that I hadn't planned to, it was just that dressage, show jumping and cross country all ran within like an hour and a half in that whole time period. So it was pretty go, 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 had to crack on, get on with it. And I think actually that was probably the best thing for my head. I had been having some help, and I have been working with a lady called Katie. And I have shared a little insight into this on Instagram, but I haven't shared much at all because it's something that I do want to keep primarily for me, because unless I do that it's not going to massively help me. I do think it's important that I do take a step back and take the time to invest in my brain, my mindset and my headspace. But I will just say that actually, although she is a fully trained psychologist, counsellor and mindset therapist, so far we haven't done much in relation to sports psychology. We have mainly done work on just my own psychology, not really in relation to riding or horses, and actually I feel that has helped me the most. So I'm actually really glad I took the step to do that. It was a big thing to do, but it's benefited me no end already, and that's all in quite a short space of time. It's only been like 7 or 8 weeks now of working with her. I'm having weekly sessions, and it has just, yeah, helped a lot, not only for the improvement in my riding, but my improvement within my self-belief and my self-confidence just in like day-to-day everyday life, really. Like I said, I'm not going to share too much because it is something that I do need to keep for me, but I did want to thank Katie because she has helped me already a lot more than I ever believed it would help. So if it's something that you maybe have been considering investing in, because it takes time, it does take time and money to invest into looking after your own head, it's something that I definitely would highly recommend taking the step into because it's extremely beneficial.
Okay, so on to Bovington. As you can see, it was a beautiful day. But like I said, I'm not going to include much of the dressage footage because if you look here, bless my mummy was using my camera and I think it was her first time using it for some reason in a minute, and for the duration of the rest of the test. See it there? We keep going in and out of focus. And it made me feel a little bit seasick whilst editing. So those of you that managed to watch the version of it that I put in the vlog, bravo to you. But I'm going to end it here. It was a beautiful test. Got a little bit tense in the canter, but I was absolutely chuffed with 27.5. On to the show jumping. Again, not my favourite. Oh, I'm trying not to say anything negative. I'm actually only going to include the first 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps, because I don't want to look back at how horrendous the rest of it was. If you would like to, the video will be in the link below. Feel free to go and check it out. But I'm trying my best to focus on the positives from this day. Of that, there are many. I just got a little bit daunted in the show jumping, in all honest, and flapped a bit, which is what I do when the jumps go up. But thankfully, looking here, my incredible Irish dog pony absolutely ate up the cross country. And I rode him boldly, forwardly. I didn't keep checking or saying wait. We attacked the course, and for that I am super proud. Again, I'm not going to include the whole course because it's been in a very recent video, but yeah, this makes me grin from ear to ear. Just watching how epically we attack the fences together as a partnership. Not letting Banks take all the credit here. We did it together. And yeah, here we come down over the final one. Absolutely chuffed to have completed our first BE 100 for a fair few years. Now on to Bicton. Bicton 3-day 90, which is a direct badminton qualifier. Now firstly, biggest love and shout out to Meggy Moo Moo, because without Meg there's no way I would have entered. I was quite happy. I was going to say to leave it on the high of having completed Bovington, but obviously I needed to enter before Bovington. But I was umming and ahhing before entering Bovington whether to enter Bovington 100 or Bicton 3-day. They ran consecutive weekends. I, as I said earlier in the video as well, do not like competing consecutive weekends in a row, especially with Bicton being a 3-day, meaning I could potentially be riding on the Thursday for the dressage, which means I'd have been competing the weekend before, only have had the 3 days in between to then turn everything around and get back up eventing again on the Thursday. And to me, I find things like that daunting. Like, I have got work, I have got family I'm caring for, I've got so much to get done in the meantime, and I know we all have chaotic, busy lives. But for me, that's not something I would find fun. I find things like that daunting. I'm not the world's most organised, and it's things that get into my head and make me a bit panicky and a bit anxious. And my main goal this year was to compete at 100. So when I was thinking about entering, I was like, oh, do I do Bovington 100 or do I do Bicton 3-day? Like, I love 3-day format. We've done the Riding Club Championships a few times up at Swaycliffe, and that's where you get to do the road to track steeplechase. Banksy loves 3-day format, but it's a very expensive entry fee. So I initially went with entering Bovington, and I wasn't going to enter Bicton. I was like, no, I want to achieve this 100 buzz. I want to get that feeling of completing a 100 cross-country course. And after riding at Chillington, doing Frickley, just having that silly wobble, but then managing to complete the rest of the course, which was quite challenging, and then doing Chillington, I was like, no, we can do it. The ground's softer now, I want to do it. So I entered Bovington, but then a couple of days later, after lots of chats with Meg, a couple of chats with Emily, and also speaking to Katie, I decided that actually, take a chance, do both, push yourself, get organised, get everything as much as you can ready prior to going to both, so that you're not in a flap and all stressed out in between, and just embrace and enjoy your horse. And yeah, we did. It literally, like, 2 events in a row went well for me. That never happens. And each phase in each event, apart from the show jumping at Bovington, I can hand on heart say I enjoyed and loved and just felt connected to my boy. Like, yeah, I don't want to go with gooey because it's
Silly. Well, it's not silly. It's not silly. It's the way it makes me feel, and it's good to vent and get your feelings out, which is one thing I'm learning, and one thing that I am actually quite good at anyway. I'm quite good at being very open with my feelings, sometimes a little too open, but hey, that's not a bad thing. It's good to embrace who you are. Anyways, I'm digressing. I'm only going to share a few highlights from Bicton because that is my most recent eventing vlog upload. It's less than a month ago. It's around a month ago. Probably 5 weeks ago, actually. And yeah, I know lots of you will have watched it already, so I'm not going to duplicate too much, but I'm just going to put in a few highlights. I was super grateful to Cameron for warming me up in the dressage. He kept my cool. He encouraged me to have some bad bits, to make some mistakes, and normally I would just play it safe in a dressage warm-up, so I was super grateful to him for that, and grateful to him for the course walks too, because you can do professional course walks with like 5-star riders around 5-star tracks and take in what they're going to do, but I've never actually done a proper course walk with my coach around my track and had advice on what to do for me, so that was really beneficial and helpful. Yeah, so super grateful to Cam for that. And show jumping, again, probably was our weakest of the 3 phases, but I did trust banks, and yeah, there was a little moment, but you'll see that in the highlights. So I'm gonna head over to the final event of the year. As I say, most of you know how it went. We did qualify for badminton, which still feels so surreal to say, but I'm actually quite smiley, happy and pleased about it, and excited to crack on after Vlogmas with the winter training, and just to keep progressing and learning and taking on board all of the tuition and help and yeah, advice that I've been embracing and enjoying learning this year. I've actually enjoyed training this year more than I have ever. I used to absolutely hate having lessons, especially solo lessons. I'd not had a solo lesson up until November 2020. It was something I would always put off. I did explain that in a previous vlog, so I won't go into that again too, but I'm just so grateful to have such amazing, incredible, supportive, encouraging, motivating, inspiring and lovely people around me that I'm lucky to call friends and family and coaches. But yeah, lovely people that I love and adore, and that I'm super grateful for, who have enabled me to bring out the best in my boy this year. It's brilliant to be ending the season happy, smiley, healthy and sound, which is always my priority, and I'm looking forward to next year already. So I'm going to end you with the few snippets of Bicton. I won't come back and blabber on for another 5 minutes again. I want to thank you all for supporting me along the way, because you've all been absolute superstars. The support and encouragement and lovely kind words and comments, it really makes me smile and it makes me feel really loved, which is really kind of you all. So I'm going to leave you with this and start getting excited about 2023 and start getting excited about Vlogmas, guys, because that will be the next video that you see on my channel. Make sure you do like, comment with what you've seen as the biggest improvement in us this year. I challenge you to give me a comment on that, please. I'd very much appreciate that, and subscribe if you don't already, and I will see you all in a few days time on the 2nd of December, which is when my Vlogmas starts, and we can get all festive and have fun together. But over and out for now, guys. See you all very soon. Enjoy the Bicton memes. Bye.
You as you drive, do you know I'm looking, and I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along, and I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? Forever, forever. complete. Do you know how much I love you? I put your favorite song on just to wake you up. When I dance around, I can't help but feeling I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? Forever. 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 I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever?
And we will actually set off at 4:30
Forever.
So the course will be open for walking. And we
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking?
Sorry, Max.
of the team section
Guys, we are officially off.
in their final lap of honour. Well done to everybody.